What is up, YouTube? It's Ashton Phoenix. Welcome back to my channel where we are reborn, unbothered, and opinionated. Today we're going to dive into book talk and talk about the overconsumption of books and what is the reality of how much one can actually read. Let's spark it up. Welcome, risers, to the world of book talk, where we're going to talk about overconsumption of books. Is it a real thing? Are people actually reading as much as they say they're reading, or are they just saying it to make themselves feel better, or to make people feel bad about themselves that maybe they're not reading enough? I don't know about y'all, but there was an infomercial years and years ago on TV. I don't remember what it was called, but it was something to help people read faster. Does anybody remember this? If so, let me know in the comments below. But I remember it'd be like, you would read your book and you would go line by line and they would tell you, oh, yep, you're going to get faster and faster. And people could read a book in an hour or less and they could finish it. But in my mind, I'm thinking, are you actually understanding and taking in what you are reading? Or are you just going so quickly, you just kind of got the gist of the story, but not the full scope and the full picture of what you read? If you really take your time and you're an avid reader, you can see the colors, you can see the places. And I like to personally, I know it's a little weird. Well, maybe I'm not a little weird. Well, I am a little weird, but does anybody else do this? If I'm reading a book, I will put celebrities in place of the characters as I'm reading the book. I think, oh, this person would be really good in that character. Oh, this person would be really great with this character. And then I can kind of envision the story coming to life as I'm reading it. And so that helps me gain a bigger picture of what I'm reading. And it becomes a little bit more magical. It's an escape. But when you read quickly, you're just not capturing it all. So for me, I don't have dyslexia, but it will sometimes take me twice to get through one page. So I try to read every night for about an hour. And when I start my first page, whether it be on my Kindle or a physical book, it takes me a while to get going into a flow of reading through the pages. And I'll start and I'm like, okay, no, I have to go back. I have to start over. I was totally thinking about the dishes or cleaning or laundry or something else. And I have to completely start over again and go back to what I was reading. Anybody else do that? Or is that just me? It takes me a little while to get going. And then once I get started and I'm in the book, I'm good to go and I can just keep going and reading and reading and reading and I'm fine. So these people who are saying that they read 30 books a month, you're telling me you read one book a day? My first question is, do you have a job? Because it takes about 6 hours, I mean, again, depending on how fast you read, to go through a book, depending on the size, the length, all of that stuff. What is the language of the book? How is it written? There are some books that are very easy to read, and then there are some that are a little bit more complex with the writing. Now, when you're listening to an audiobook, it'll say on there about 5 hours, 6 hours, and obviously the narrator is taking their time. They're telling you the story, trying to give you the visuals of the story. So it's going to be a little bit longer than probably if you're reading it to yourself in your head. But no, I mean, unless you were like going to work and then you come home and you read your book and you do nothing else, then maybe you're reading 30 books a month. I just don't believe it. I don't believe it. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it at all. Now, in January, when I first started getting into reading again, I read, I want to say 3 or 4 books because I was dedicated every single night to read at least an hour or two, and I was doing really well. And I've since fallen off, and that's fine. If I can read a book a month, that's great. And I started to put things into perspective and think, wow, if I'm only reading one book a month, that's only 12 books a year. And I shouldn't say only because at least I'm reading something and kind of having a nice escape. And I feel like it's educational. It's really educational. You're learning new words that maybe you haven't read before. And I think the great thing about the Kindle is you can highlight a word if you've never heard it before. And you can look up the definition, which is kind of a cool feature of having the Kindle. Now, if you have a physical book, you would obviously have to get a dictionary or just, use your closest cell phone and look it up. I look at this and only 12 books a year. If you're only reading 12 books a year for your life, over the span of your lifetime, that's a lot of books. But when you look at it, one book a month, that doesn't really seem like a whole lot. I'd like to kind of dive in and look at some of the collections people have. That's not a collection, that's a library. That is a library. Looks like this person likes a lot of fantasy stuff. That's pretty cool. That's a lot of books. Somebody says, oh, they have money. Yeah, that's not a book collection. That's a mini library. I want to be like her when I grow up and I'm grown. The gasp, I gasped. I love those comments. It's so perfectly unperfect. This is stunning. That's a lot of books.
My book collection versus what I've read challenge. I've only read 4 from there. I've only read this one. None of those. None of those. Read all of those. None of those. One of these. Read those. No. Haven't read any of these down here. Read those. Read all but these 4 that I'm doing later this year. I've read all of these except these 2. All of those. I have read this entire shelf. I've read this one and these 3. All of these. This one. This one. This one. This one. This one. None of those. These. This one. These 3. None of those. These here. From this shelf, I have read these 2. Working on this one. I've read none of those.
That's a huge collection. Now, I'm curious what people's thoughts are on collecting books. So, remember when we used to have VHS tapes? Mm-hmm. Then we went to DVDs. Mm-hmm. And then we went to Blu-rays. And then we went digital. It's kind of like a book collection. So, we have some DVDs that we'll put in occasionally, but other than that, it's all digital. All my money goes to iTunes, okay? It goes to iTunes, movies, music, all of that stuff. And I have a Kindle also. So I think as times have changed, people want to take up less space, unless you're a hoarder. That's a totally different subject. But it's all about that clean aesthetic, that clean look, and you don't want clutter. So I don't know about you all, but I have a few books that I've read because I think there's nothing like holding a physical book. It's very different from holding a Kindle. I love my Kindle. I love that I can put it in my purse and I can take it with me on trips. I can take it on the plane and it doesn't take up a lot of space. And I can have multiple books on it. So I can read a couple things at a time if I wanted to, but I'm not going to because I can't focus on 2 books at one time. I can only read 1 at a time. For me, I don't want to have a bookshelf in my house. It's going to collect a lot of dust. It's going to collect a lot of cat hair on top of it. And I went to the store the other day. I went to Barnes & Noble and I was going to get a book and I didn't. I left empty-handed, which is fine because part of me is torn. It's like, yes, I want a physical book to read, but I have 2 physical books that I haven't even read yet because I'm reading something on my Kindle. I do go back and forth. What is everybody's preference? I'm curious. What does everybody else do? Do you prefer a physical book or do you like a Kindle? I like the Kindle because I can read it at night when my husband is asleep and it doesn't keep him up because it's not super bright. It's a lot easier to read on a Kindle than it is an iPad. I will say that because I was doing the Kindle on my iPad and it was so bright on my eyes. The Kindle was so much better. Not sponsored, but if you'd like to sponsor me, Amazon, and cover some books, that would be wonderful. But I don't know. I love it. I think it's cool. It's small. It's compact. It's easy to hold. And books can be heavy. Those can weigh down your hands, your wrist if you're holding it and reading. This is just easier. But there's nothing like the smell of a book too. Does anybody else do that? Is anybody else weird like me where you just like turn the pages and smell the book? No? I don't know. But what do y'all do?
It is not normal to read over 100 books per year, to stay at home instead of socialize with people, to read for hours every single day, to mindlessly scroll BookTok, and to buy more books than you can keep up with reading. So how do we normalize it?
How do we normalize it? Somebody says, totally normal. Welcome to my life. Not normal? Psh, but it's so much fun. Normal is missing out. I think books are such a great escapism, and it's good to put down your phone every once in a while and read a book. But I also think it's important to get out and socialize with other people. Sadly, with the Utes, they're all in their phone. They're so consumed in their phone. They're not talking to other people. They're not communicating. I don't want to compare reading to being on your cell phone, but I also think that you should take time to talk to people and have conversations. I love it. You're in my home on a rainy day. There was no rain. It was sunny outside. That's a pretty cool room. I think that's an awesome design. But okay, again, the question is, if you read the book, how often do people reread books? I have one collection. Well, I have one collection digitally on my Kindle, and then I have one hard copy of just the first book in the series, and it's called Drunk on a Plane by Zane Mitchell. I love it. I want it to become a movie. There's a series of, I think, 5 or 6 books, and I just bought my first hard copy of the first book, but I want Glenn Powell to play the main character. I think he would be amazing. I think it should either be a series on Max or just a film that is put out on Netflix, Paramount, HBO. If it goes into theaters, I think that would be cool too. But I think it would do really well as a short series. It's just a fun book. It's a fun escape. There's some swearing, there's some adult themes and content in it, but I loved it, and I truly believe he would play this character so well. So if you're into reading, you want a new book, it's called Drunk on a Plane by Zane Mitchell, and there's a series of books. That's just the first one. I love that. I think I've read each book twice now, and I would read it again because I had so much fun. The characters were just really fun to read, and I'm sure that's probably like the Harry Potter series for people. They want to read it again because they loved it so much, just everything about the characters and the storytelling that's done within the book. It's so good you want to read it again. How often are we rereading books? I'm curious. I rewatch movies all the time, and I know a lot of people, we rewatch movies. Say that 5 times fast. We rewatch movies multiple times because we love them. It's immersive and it's a nice escape. Sometimes I put stuff on in the background when I'm cleaning the house. That way I don't have to focus on what I'm watching because I've already seen it. But I'll watch those again. But how often are we rereading books? Because that takes a lot of time, right, to get through a book. So you're taking more time out of your day to read this book again. Are there any rereaders out there? I'm curious. So that's what I have for you today, Risers Book Talk. What's your favorite book? Do you have a favorite book that you've read that you would reread again? What are some of your recommendations? I would love to know what you're currently reading. Maybe I can add it to my list and we'll see if I eventually get to it. Keep reading, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, YouTube.